Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor Ellis and this is the Secondhand Librarian where I just talk about bookish stuff 24/7. So thank you for coming back if you are, and thank you for being here if you're new. I do just want to say thank you for all of the sweet comments and the likes and the subscribes. It's just so sweet. And this is just fun for me, so it's cool that people are interested enough to follow along and say that they're going to. So I will try to keep the content interesting. And I do plan on doing once a week. But I am a person that gets overwhelmed easily, which is ridiculous considering I'm constantly adding things onto my plate. So I'm just saying that as a disclaimer. If I miss a week, it's probably because I'm just gonna take a lot of naps. I need it, so bear with me. But today I'm really excited because I'm gonna do my top 5 favorite romance novels. This is probably my second favorite genre. I'm definitely more of a spooky vibe sort of girl, so I love the true crime. I love the mysteries or thrillers, things like that. But if I'm not reading that, then there's a huge chance of reading romance. So I'm really, really excited. I'm not going to talk a lot more. Let's get right into it. So I'm going to go from 5 to 1. So I don't even want to say least favorite. It sounds just absurd, but descending order is what I'm going to do. So number 5, Pride and Prejudice. If you know me in person, you know that I am obsessed with Pride and Prejudice. I just feel like it is kind of the pinnacle of a good romance. You have the brooding, mysterious man who's just kind of too haughty for anyone. And then you have the beautiful, witty, kind of independent, headstrong woman. And of course they're going to collide and it's just going to be ridiculousness. I absolutely love the gazebo scene. It's perfect. I told my husband if we had infinite funds, I would 1,000% get married there, just because that scene struck me as just being so romantic. It's not even the scene where everything gets good, or when the end where he's kissing her and stuff. Honestly, that part makes me a little uncomfortable. I don't know. But I just love the tension between Darcy and Elizabeth during that moment when he finally tells her that he loves her and she's you're an asshole. So I really, really love Pride and Prejudice. I dressed up as Elizabeth Bennet in high school for Halloween. There's something about that strong female lead in a time period where that's not really allowed, that's just so alluring. So yeah, number 5 for sure is Pride and Prejudice. Number 4, The Rosie Project. So this is the only romance story that is actually from the point of view of a male, and I absolutely loved this book. I feel it was just so unique in its plot. I feel most romances kind of follow a similar pattern, whereas this, I was invested in the romance, but I was equally invested in the side story, which I feel doesn't really happen. I feel sometimes when the side story is brought up, I'm okay, I'm want to get back to what I'm actually here for. But it was just really well done. So just a quick synopsis. There's a genetics professor, Don, and he is just not good at love. He is very by the book, numbers, statistics, facts. It's not really, he's not really aware of it in the beginning, but towards the end, there's definitely a discussion of him being on the spectrum. So he's definitely just can't really pick up those social cues, things like that. So he wants to find a wife. He just jumped straight past girlfriend. He wants to find a wife. And he comes up with this list called the Wife Project. So it's pretty much it's a list of questions, but hidden in the questions is a strict criteria that a woman must meet for him to even acknowledge them as a potential partner for him. So he goes on like a lot of failed dates at first with this project, and then his womanizing and kind of asshole best friend introduces him to Rosie. So Rosie's like this punk girl. She's super cute, super just kind of like non-traditional. And they just end up kind of connecting, but like obviously he's not going to even consider her because, I mean, why would he? She's a bartender and he's a PhD like student, and it's just like, yeah, he just wasn't like really anticipating anything coming from it, but obviously something does. But the side story is she's trying to figure out who her father is, her biological father, because she has a disconnect with her stepdad, Phil. So Dawn creates the Father Project, where they go on this crazy wild goose chase to try and find out who her dad is by doing like DNA swabs stealthily. It's like such a crazy story, but it's so cute. I feel like this book was like, I distinctly remember sorry, I distinctly remember laughing out loud to this book, like in public, because it was just so funny to me. Yeah, it was a great story. I think that it was definitely equal parts romance, equal parts just kind of like a good plot. So I'm all for that. Number 3 is The Unhoneymooners. So I will say this is like my first foray into like adult romance. I say that because like a lot of the romance I read prior to this was like Twilight, like YA. It was pretty like PG-13, pretty devoid of any like mature themes, things like that. So when I read The Unhoneymooners, I was like, this is not your YA sort of situation. This like brought me back to like Harry Potter fanfic days. So yeah, it was so good. It's definitely not one of those, it's not like the Rosie Project where it's like there's a little bit more substance. Like this is just like a pure fun read, which I feel like sometimes we all need, especially like right now with everything going on. It's just like nice to dive into something that's just kind of chill and happy and fun. So I feel like this is definitely that book for me. A total beach read. I really enjoyed the premise of it. I think it was a really cute story. So basically Olive, her twin sister, gets married and gets food poisoning on the night of her wedding. And so she has to take her sister's honeymoon to Maui. The only caveat is that she has to go with Ethan, who is the best man. And obviously they don't like each other, of course. So they go, but they have to pretend like they're married in order to not raise suspicions that they've taken someone else's trip. So it's just them kind of hating each other, but also pretending to love each other, and then having to find out that they genuinely do love each other. Exes show up on the trip, which is what a weird coincidence, right? If any of my exes showed up on my honeymoon trip to Maui, I would book a flight to the next island. So I honestly thought that it was just a stressful situation. But yeah, I think this was a really cute book. I think that if I were to be at the beach or something like that, I'd probably pick it up again just because it's really fun, nothing like too serious. So love this one. Now, number 2 and 1, if you know me in real life, you're probably going to roll your eyes like, we get it. But I just can't stop talking about it. Okay, so number 2 is Take a Hint, Danny Brown. Now, I was a little skeptical when I first started this one. Now, it's not because I thought that it would be bad at all. I believe it's pronounced Talia, but Talia Hibbert, she is a phenomenal phenomenal writer. So I knew that I was going to come into something that was just really, really great. But I was so connected to her first book and her first character, Chloe, that I just felt like I wanted more of Chloe, and I was upset that it wasn't her. But I'm so glad I gave Dani Brown a chance, because it was just such a good book. I think the thing I like about this kind of series is that it tackles a lot of deeper issues and more like real life issues that I feel like couples genuinely could go through in like the modern age. So in this one, Dani is, I'm so sorry, I have allergies and it's just flaring up. I sneezed like, no joke, 15 times in a row before I filmed this, so forgive me. But the story talks about Dani Brown, and she works at a college. She's just like badass, like in charge, confident woman. She has a shaved head. She's just like, Dani is the person that I wish I was, and the girl that I would want to be best friends with. Like, I would just feel like, wow, like she's so cool. She just like says whatever she means and thinks, and that's it. Like, she just has this like unashamed like confidence about her, and I just found that to be so interesting. So there's this hot security guard that works there, Zafir, and they had like a little like obviously like flirting thing, but it hasn't like kind of gone further just because Dani's really obsessed with her work. But there's like a fire drill and Dani doesn't know, so she's stuck in the elevator, and Zafir, who has the hots for her, realizes she's not outside, comes in, saves her from the elevator, the elevator. And then when they come outside, people take pictures and it goes viral, and people call him Rugby because he was a famous rugby player. So it just kind of goes into this story of how they pretend to be together so that it can help Zafir's kind of like nonprofit organization he has for boys. He doesn't play rugby anymore, but he coaches kids who play rugby, and he tries to talk about just like emotional maturity and things like that. So they continue to like pretend like they're together because it's been giving him a lot of publicity, and they don't want to like have to say, you know, like we aren't together, because that the whole world thinks they are. So I kind of understood that. I feel like if I were in that situation, I would just be like, this is way easier than me fumbling over the fact that we aren't together and blah, blah, blah. So they obviously have tons of chemistry, and the sex scenes in this are ridiculous. I think at one point they like break a table. So there's that. But it was just interesting because Zafir had lost his brother and his dad, and he was just dealing with so much grief. And it really touched on the fact that men kind of, they definitely, obviously they're humans. They internalize things differently than anyone else around them. But it just definitely like honed in on him trying to navigate those feelings of grief while also moving on with his life, and Dani trying to get through the reason why she just worked all the time. So it was just a really good one. So I'm really excited to read the third one that's coming out next month. Actor age, Eve Brown. Eve and I are the same age, and the little excerpt I read about it, I was like, this is like yelling in my ear about how I need to get my shit together. So I can't wait to read that. And then last but not least, number one, Get a Life, Chloe Brown. I love it so much. The reason why I love this one the most is because I am Chloe. Like, as I was reading this book, I'm like, holy shit, like this is exactly how I think, and this is exactly how I feel. She's like this kind of plays it safe, cutesy girl who like plays video games, and she's just kind of a little nerdy, but she's also really awkward and also can be kind of abrasive without realizing. She's perfect, and she falls in love with this guy named Red who works at the building, and Red is dealing with his own personal baggage. His ex-girlfriend was like emotionally abusive to him, and so it's kind of really messed up his perception of relationships. And then Chloe is dealing with a disability. I want to say it is MS. I want to say that. But she is just kind of like in debilitating pain a lot. And so it kind of shows you through like her eyes, like how she handles that and how she handles having a disability whilst also in a relationship. So it is just, it's honestly so great. When it was finished, I was like, I might reread this again just because I loved it so much. I also love that like their sex scenes were very slow burn. So like it didn't just happen all at once. It was like it really built up to it. And I really felt like the connection between these two characters. Like I felt like they were real people and I had really witnessed their like relationship like flourish and blossom. So yeah, I just really love this series and I'm so excited for Eve Brown. But yes, those are my top 5. I do want to do honorable mentions. I really love Eleanor and Park, although there is controversy about that. I will probably talk about that in another video. I really like Midnight Sun because I'm basic. And yeah, I just really like these books and I think they're all really good. So I hope you guys all have a really great and safe Galentine's, you know, just hang out at home, do whatever you got to do. But I'm really excited. It's my husband and I's first Valentine's Day together as a married couple. So I'm not gonna lie, we're gonna stay in and get takeout and watch the Queen's Gambit. So that's literally where we are. But it's so funny. He's like, should we get a chessboard so we can like play on Valentine's Day? And I'm like, of course, like that's awesome. So yeah, anyway, thank you guys so much and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks. Bye.